She's been called America's most millennial candidate at just 31 years old. Katie Hill, running for Congress in the Antelope Valley in North L.A. County. She's taking on established Republican Steve Knight. In a normal year, this district might be considered out of reach for a Democrat, but as we know, this isn't a normal year. The race is actually polling as a toss-up. It is one of the most expensive, one of the closest watched, most important congressional races in the entire country. Katie Hill, welcome. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
So let's start, though, with the big news of the last week. We've seen all these incidents of extremism and hate, whether it be the bombs sent to Democratic leaders. We saw attacks on African Americans and then the attacks on Jewish Americans. How are voters processing this? And do you think that the president bears any responsibility for this?
Well, I think from what we're seeing, at least, voters are processing it that this is too much. Our country cannot be so divided for this long for us to be able to get anything done, and this just isn't who we are as Americans. So I think what this shows is that we're at a moment where we have to try and change the public discourse. We've got to have leaders who are going to try and unite us rather than divide us for political gain, and who are going to say unequivocally that hate is not okay, that we are a country that needs to come together, and that each and every one of our citizens deserves respect and deserves to be treated equally. So I just think that from what we're seeing, people are done with this.
Do you think the president has failed in his responsibility on this?
I can't pin responsibility on any single person. I really think that the responsibility comes from each of us as individuals. But I do think that anywhere that is furthering this rhetoric and that is not tamping it down is completely unhelpful and does bear some responsibility.
All right, let's talk about you for a moment. We see your ads all the time. You've raised as much money as pretty much anybody in the country to get those ads on the air. You have an interesting biography. You're 31 years old, openly bisexual, been very progressive on a lot of things, but at the same time, very deeply rooted in the district. Talk to us a little bit about you, about who you are.
Sure. Well, I'm the daughter of a police officer and a nurse. I have spent my entire life in the district. Come from family that's worked in aerospace, that is, I live on 2.5 acres. That's the house that my husband grew up in. We bought from his parents. I have a horse, goats, chickens, 4 rescue dogs. And I spent my career serving my community as the executive director of PATH, People Assisting the Homeless. So I wasn't planning on becoming a politician. I entered this world unexpectedly because after the 2016 election, I, like so many other people across the country, particularly women across the country, decided that I needed to do more. And I believe that we deserve something better than what's happening in Washington right now. So I think, yeah, when I decided to run, I planned on running a different kind of campaign that is about me, authentically, who I am. I'm not going to shy away from it. I'm not going to just do political talking points. I believe in my values, and that's what I think people are looking for right now.
So you're running against Steve Knight, who's the incumbent Republican congressman.
Yes.
We've invited him to come on here. He's declined that offer. We've offered to have him here for a debate with you on TV. He's declined that offer.
Oh.
What do you see as the most important difference, the most important thing you want voters to know in the choice between you and Congressman Knight?
I think that the choice really comes down to something that's very basic and very simple. It's about who you can trust to truly represent you in Washington. Steve Knight is someone who has proven over and over again that he's accountable to party leaders and to big corporations and special interests instead of to the people of this community, into our community. And he does that with his votes on health care, with his votes on the tax plan, and with voting with Donald Trump 99% of the time. Whereas my entire campaign, I've said from day one, I'm not taking any money from corporate PACs. I'm not taking any money from these special interest groups that are going to try and sway my vote in a certain direction. And so we've raised all of this money. We've run a grassroots campaign from literally 40,000 individual donors, over 4,000 volunteers. We've knocked on 350,000 doors. And it's because this is for the people. This is, I'm not trying to do this top-down approach. I'm doing it from the ground up.
All right, Katie Hill, thank you for sharing your views.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much, and we'll be back.